Well, this brings to a close the last rites ceremonies for India's first Chief of Defence Staff. I want to bring in Aishwarya Paliwal. Aishwarya, the Defence Minister, has just left. The eternal flames are burning. General Rawat and his wife, Mrs. Madhulika, are on their final journey. It's just still so much disbelief, Aishwarya, at this point of time as we watch these images of the burning funeral pyre, the family of General and Mrs. Rawat, Kritika and Tarani, the daughters there, the gun salute. These images, a surreal reminder that this terrible tragedy that everyone just hoped was a nightmare or a bad dream is all too real, and it's coming to an end now, Aishwarya.
Yes, Shiv, it all is coming to an end. We have seen since morning how dignitaries were at the Brar Square. We are now seeing, just a couple of minutes back, Rajnath Singh, the Defence Minister, left. Arvind Kejriwal is now leaving in one of these cars. Rajyavardhan Rathore too is now leaving. So all the dignitaries are now leaving the cremation ground, the crematorium. Arvind Kejriwal just left. We are seeing Rajyavardhan Rathore too. And let me tell you, Shiv, Rajyavardhan Rathore in fact was amongst the first dignitaries who reached the spot. He was here around 8:30 in the morning before the cremation of Brigadier Lidder actually began. And now he is amongst the last people to leave. All these cars that you are seeing, we are standing right outside
all the army personnel too, making their way, all of them now leaving. You very rightly pointed, family, when the two daughters go back home, the vacuum that they will feel, we cannot even imagine what they must be feeling like. Once everyone moves away, the two daughters are the ones, the vacuum of what has happened. More dignitaries now on their way, just leaving. We are seeing the former chiefs also now making their way, all of them leaving the crematorium after paying their tribute, after paying their respect to the first CDS, General Bipin Rawat and his wife. These are the images we are bringing to you live from right outside Brar Square crematorium, which is inside the Delhi cantonment. We are seeing the generals now leaving, army officials leaving, all of them now going back after paying their tribute. Rajyavardhan Rathore too, the CM of Uttarakhand, just leaving now. Rajyavardhan Rathore still waiting there, still waiting. He was
just taking over for a moment to talk our viewers over those visuals. That was the new Chief of the Naval Staff, Admiral R. Harikumar, along with the outgoing Navy Chief, Admiral Karambir Singh, who were also there to pay their respects. Sense of disbelief still, looking at these surreal, absolutely surreal images of the eternal flame. How many times General Bipin Rawat has saluted the eternal flame of India's heroes, those who've been lost in conflict, those who've been killed in action, in terror and combat. He has saluted the Amar Jawan Jyoti so many times. And today General Bipin Rawat is consigned to that very same flame, the eternal flame of every soldier, along with his wife, Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, who was an integral part of military life right through the life of General Bipin Rawat. A flame that is an integral part of the ceremonies of all military functions, now sending General Rawat and his wife on their final journey. Our defense editor Abhishek Bhalla is also with me live. Abhishek has just returned from Wellington. He was reporting from the ground on the ceremonies that had actually begun in Wellington in Tamil Nadu yesterday in the morning. And today he's here in Delhi for the final rites of General Bipin Rawat. That sense of disbelief, of it not sinking in, is still there in the air. Abhishek, as we continue to see these pictures, the Defence Minister has left from here. Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore, the other dignitaries had started to leave. The family of General Bipin Rawat is still there, and it is on their shoulders, Abhishek, finally, Despite all this adulation, these public crowds, the huge numbers of service personnel who are there to show their solidarity and sympathy, it is ultimately on the shoulders of the family that the sorrow must be borne now.
Shiv, more than 800 service personnel were there today, right from General Bipin Rawat's residence till here when he was finally laid to rest. And Brar Square crematorium has been a resting place for many a military legend, and certainly General Bipin Rawat will be remembered as a legend in years to come. For many reasons, he was the first Chief of Defence Staff, had an illustrious career in the army, was the army chief, has served in extremely sensitive and important positions. So he really ticked all the boxes. But nobody really believed that he would go so soon and in this manner, because he had a great task ahead of him, a big mandate as the CDS. So that void is difficult to be filled. But as they say, as the cliche goes, life has to go on. The Indian military will have to very soon find a successor for him, because the position that he was holding and the vision that he and the government had for a reformed military cannot wait. It cannot have any further delays. So that's going to be one big challenge on who the next CDS is. But otherwise, of course, once all the glare gets away from his demise, it's the family that will have to come to terms in a completely different way. And as dusk sets in Delhi, the funeral pyre is still lit and is fresh inside this crematorium at Brar Square, where several soldiers have been laid to rest.
Incredibly somber images. There are no words really to describe the images that we're seeing right now. You can only imagine what it's like for Kritika and Tarani Rawat, who've lost both their parents in the blink of an eye, in the same accident, the same day, the same moment, that same helicopter crash. And they will return to an empty house today, surrounded by their loved ones, of course, surrounded by their well-wishers, the support structure of the family that they still have, but they've lost their mother and father. And their mother and father were in a helicopter along with 11 others. And not for a moment do I want any of our viewers to think that we will not be similarly covering the last rites and funerals of each and every one of the persons who was on board that helicopter. Brigadier Lidder was consigned to the flames this morning at this very site. We brought that to you, as we will the story of every other individual on that helicopter. Wing Commander P.S. Chauhan, the pilot, Squadron Leader Kuldeep Singh, the co-pilot, and the 9 others who were on board that helicopter and who sadly and tragically perished in that horrifying catastrophe. And as we bring you these final images of the eternal flame, sending General Rawat and Mrs. Rawat on their eternal journey, I also want to remind our viewers that far away from this site, this is Delhi that you're looking at, but far away from this site, at the Command Hospital in Bengaluru, Group Captain Varun Singh, the sole survivor of this tragedy that has taken the lives of General Rawat, Mrs. Rawat and 11 others, continues to fight for his life. He suffered extensive burn injuries, multiple organs have failed. Doctors from across the board, the burn unit and elsewhere, are working to stabilize him. He's on life support and hoping to bring the young fighter pilot back to health. He's not conscious, so he won't be able to know what's happening here at the Brar Square crematorium, sadly. There is every hope that he will be revived and make a full recovery. All prayers, including prayers here at the Brar Square, are for those who are lost and for the one man who survived. That's him. That's Group Captain Varun. The Indian Air Force has told us that they will try and bring us more information and a health update on Group Captain Varun later this evening. I promised to bring that to you. And at this time, we can tell you that it's not looking good. He's in a very critical, very serious condition right now. He is critical but stable. He's on life support. And all of our prayers, the prayers of the hundreds of military personnel who are at the Brar Square, are also praying for Group Captain Varun Singh, the sole survivor of this tragedy. The nation has bid farewell in the most Indian way possible. Now, that's the only phrase I can use, the most Indian way possible. This was a farewell to General Bipin Rawat and his wife, Madhulika Rawat. A farewell that he would probably have chuckled at, but it was one befitting the man that he was. It was for the grieving family, the couple's two daughters, who you see on your screen right now, Kritika and Tarari, to bid their father and mother farewell. The funeral pyre was lit by General Rawat's family. Over 800 service personnel were there. There was a gun salute that you're looking at on your screen right now. Amidst the grief and pain, the military conducted itself with incredible dignity and precision, bringing General and Mrs. Rawat into Delhi's Brar Square for this final journey. The mortal remains of India's first Chief of Defence Staff and his wife were carried across Delhi amidst scenes of huge solidarity, sympathy, sorrow and faith. And these are the images that we've seen right through the day as the country bid General Bipin Rawat a sorrowful farewell. Their mortal remains were earlier kept at his residence, as you can see in these pictures, for public viewing, for the nation to pay their final tributes. General Rawat's daughters, along with their families, including the Chief of Defence Staff's grandson, paid an emotional tribute to General Rawat. But still, with a sense of deep disbelief, incredulity really, that we're looking at a once vibrant couple, the first family of the Indian military, in two flag-draped caskets on their final journey. Images of General and Bipin Rawat in happier times when they were alive, contrasting so painfully with these images of them being consigned to the flames today. The bitter irony, the bitter sorrow and sadness washing over everyone at Brar Square and every one of you watching as we bring this story to you. Abhishek Bhalla continues to be with me. Abhishek, the final act is complete. The eternal flame is burning. The country's first Chief of Defence Staff and his wife have begun their eternal journey. Who would ever have thought that we would be reporting a story like this? You and me, Abhishek, certainly didn't ever expect to, be on the front lines of a story of this kind for our viewers. And I wish we'd never, ever had to do this. But the eternal flame is burning, Abhishek, and now there is work to be done. As General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika themselves would have said, that let's get on with it. There's work to be done. There is a successor to be anointed. There is all the projects of theaterization and so many other things to be looked at. There is the welfare of military wives and widows to take care of. So many responsibilities that these two individuals had. And the wagon must move on. The show must go on, Abhishek.
Most definitely, Shiv. And, General Rawat as CDS had so much on his platter. Back-to-back assignments. And then the first Chief of Defence Staff, it was unprecedented. There were no SOPs on how the office of CDS is going to function. He wears two hats, one as the CDS that looks at synergy, jointness, integration, and the other actually as the Secretary of the newly created Department of Military Affairs. So definitely a big void that needs to be filled and done very quickly. How the government is going to go about it, we wouldn't want to speculate. We wouldn't want to throw in names that, these people could be the front runners at this point of time. We all know who are the people who are, senior enough and meritorious. A big task, theaterization, was a big task that General Rawat took it upon himself. It wasn't the government that thrust it upon him, but that was his vision. He convinced the government. He was trying to convince the services. Yes, there were differences. Often there were controversies revolving around it. But General Rawat was always transparent, spoke about these things publicly. In fact, at an India Today platform, General Rawat said that, the Air Force is a support arm. When there was a discussion about the theaterization, that's when there was some controversy. It made big headlines, but that did not deter him. We spoke to him, personally about what he feels about the controversy, and he said that he doesn't look at it as a controversy because whatever he's talking in public domain, the similar discussions are going on in the military circles because this is something that needs to be done. It's been pending for very long. And in fact, I remember very clearly, Shiv, the day he took over as the Chief of Defence Staff, he made a very pertinent point when journalists asked him, how does he intend to go about theaterization because there is a lot of resistance within the military. So he very clearly said that, India can have its own model. He said we don't need to ape the West on having a theatre command model. We can have our own system, our own procedures, and that's something that he was looking at. He was getting support from some quarters. There were certain concerns, but it was taken all in the right spirit at the end of the day. And there is nobody, Shiv, nobody in the military circles who says that integration and jointness is not the way forward. It's just that there are divergent, differing views on how it should be done. So now that the template has been set and General Rawat is no more with us, I'm sure this legacy of his that he leaves behind will, in fact, be done over with as early as possible, and there'll be something fruitful in what we'll soon see as India having one of the biggest military reforms since independence. His appointment till now is the biggest military reform, but if we get anywhere close to theaterization, that will be a befitting salute to General Rawat.
Abhishek, stay with me as we continue to ask the questions and also inform our viewers about the next steps, because the ceremonies, the sad, sorrowful, painful ceremonies are now drawing to a close for General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat. Ceremonies will take place for all of the other people who are on board that helicopter. Brigadier Lidder ceremony happened earlier this morning. He was a military advisor to General Rawat. But I also want to keep your focus looking ahead, viewer, because on India Today we also want to never ever deviate from asking the right questions and also giving you a sense of what lies ahead. India is picking up the pieces, but here are the 5 things that India will be doing next. Appoint India's next Chief of Defence Staff. It's a sad task, but it has to be done because General Bipin Rawat is no longer there. His successor has to be appointed. Step 2. It has to complete the chopper crash investigation, the court of inquiry on time. The Indian Air Force has said that it will be an expeditious inquiry, but it has to happen on time because the public, the families are owed an answer. Step number 3, ensure care and protection for the families. You've seen many of these families out there. They are the epitome of grace, composure, dignity amidst this devastating and shattering sorrow. They must be protected, and the military always does. I'm only mentioning it because people would like to know about that. Step number 4, revisit protocols for VVIP flights if needed. Let's call a spade a spade. Does this disaster necessitate a revisiting of VIP flight protocols? If it is necessary, if experts advise so, then that is also going to be a next step. And finally, ensure continuity in defense modernization. All of the important projects that General Bipin Rawat was doing as the Chief of Defence Staff, there has to be a priority by the government that there is no stoppage, no pause, no halt, no slackening in momentum in those very, very important projects that he was leading and spearheading as Chief of Defence Staff. Abhishek, that's one of the big concerns. As India picks up the pieces and, sorrowfully bids farewell to the Chief of Defence Staff, work is work. And, General Bipin Rawat himself would have advised that, stop all this, let's get on with our work. You must appoint my successor. and he must continue the work that we are doing, because this is not about a person, this is about an institution, and there is very, very important work to be done.
Shiv, an institution that, the military had a lot of hope from. There were several issues, relating to the military that needed to be changed. And there was hope that with the appointment of the CDS, those things will change. And the biggest of those being, theatre commands. As I said, that there were differing views, but really nobody can say that, these reforms are not needed. How it will be done is the big question, and whether the successor is as passionate about General Rawat about this project is another thing. But it should not be an individual-centric project, because there is clarity that theaterization needs to happen. In what format, what avatar it happens is a different question. So definitely there shouldn't be any delay in appointing the next Chief of Defence Staff, and hopefully there shouldn't be any ad hocism as well, Shiv, because as service chiefs, if somebody has to be the CDS, then what's the difference between what was being followed earlier and this new system that was brought in? So we'll have to wait and watch how the government, how the Defence Ministry approaches this situation. But yes, at a very short notice, the new CDS should be appointed. And there are already murmurs how it should be done, whether it will be somebody from the service chiefs, or will it be someone from a wider range of officers. Maybe all commanding-in-chiefs can be eligible for this post. How these things are going to be ironed out is difficult to say, but
yes,
let there be no red tape or bureaucracy of any kind that delays such an important decision.
Very well said, Abhishek. Thank you for getting us an update on that. It's going to be very, very soon that General Bipin Rawat's successor as the second Chief of Defence Staff will be appointed by the government. And, just in case our viewers think I'm being insensitive by talking about it while those flames are still burning, believe me, I knew General Bipin Rawat. He would want nothing more than the work to continue as quickly as possible. He would have said, if you want to bid me farewell in this manner because of protocol and ceremony, by all means do it, but appoint my successor. The work must not suffer, because this is about the country, this is about the military, and there can be absolutely no pause. There has to be continuity, there has to be cohesion. The mission and objective is too big. It's bigger than all of us put together. It's about the country, it's about sovereignty, it's about national security. And that's what General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat would have wanted as they leave this world. Abhishek, continue to stay with me as we've been keeping our thoughts also with the lone survivor of this crash. We've got some breaking news coming in. Group Captain Varun Singh, the sole survivor of the air accident, the chopper accident that killed 13 persons, including Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat, is fighting for his life. It has been 50 hours since he was recovered from the crash site. He's been fighting for his life, lingering between life and death now for 50 hours and counting. He is being treated, like we told you yesterday, at the Air Force Command Hospital in Bengaluru, which has one of the most proficient burn units. He's being treated by a team of doctors that is looking into every aspect of keeping this brave young pilot, a recipient of the Shaurya Chakra, alive. I want to go across to India Today's Nolan Pinto, who's in Bengaluru, who's been tracking this very, very closely. Nolan, critical but stable is what we are told by the Indian Air Force. Our thoughts are unwavering. As we covered the funeral of General and Mrs. Rawat, our thoughts were also with the family of Group Captain Varun Singh, who are praying for his life and praying that he makes a full recovery. What can you tell us, Nolan?
Well, Shiv, in fact, as of now, everyone is praying that he actually comes out of this. Now, the last evening, Chief Minister Bommai, along with the Governor of the state, had gone to visit the command hospital to inquire about what exactly is happening over there. The CM did not speak last night, but now he has actually stated that the officials over there, the doctors and the experts, have told him that most of Group Captain Varun Singh's body is affected by burn injuries and he's being treated for it. And the Chief Minister also added that I pray to God for his speedy recovery. Now, Shiv, I'm also getting information from our sources that Group Captain Varun Singh continues to be critical. He's on ventilator support and he is still unconscious. So the authorities over here, top doctors at the command hospital in Bengaluru, are doing all they can to make sure that he comes out of it. But it's really a matter of touch and go. We just have to continue to believe that he can come out of this.
Thanks very much. Our prayers are strengthening with each passing hour. People from across the country and the world praying for Group Captain Varun Singh, Shaurya Chakra, brave fighter pilot who was on that helicopter. He was part of the he is part of the directing staff at the Wellington Staff College. He was escorting Chief of Defence Staff Bipin Rawat from Coonoor Air Force Station to Wellington when this tragedy took place. Group Captain Varun Singh is the sole survivor of the Coonoor military chopper crash that killed 13 persons. Prayers for Group Captain Varun Singh's speedy recovery are being held in his native place, Kanholi, a village in Uttar Pradesh's Deoria district. Varun Singh's elder mother and aunt were seen praying at a temple earlier today for his well-being. Since Friday, the residents of the village have been saddened by the incident. Everyone is praying for Varun's speedy recovery. In the tragic incident, Varun Singh suffered 45% burn injuries and is currently being treated, like I said, at the Air Force Command Hospital in Bengaluru. The condition of Group Captain Varun Singh is said to be critical. In August 2021, Group Captain Varun Singh was conferred with the Shaurya Chakra, India's third highest peacetime gallantry award, for saving his light combat aircraft, Tejas fighter jet, during an emergency. We at India Today, along with his family, pray for his speedy recovery. He was pulled out of the wreckage of the Mi-17 V5 helicopter alive. Group Captain Varun Singh, Shaurya Chakra, the lone survivor of the horrific tragedy. He was breathing but had severe burn injuries and was rushed to the military hospital in Wellington by emergency services. Group Captain Varun, directing staff at the Defence Services Staff College in Wellington, was escorting the Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, and his entourage to the Staff College, where he was to deliver a lecture. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh in Parliament on Thursday gave details of Group Captain Varun's condition.
क्रैश साइट से सर्वाइवर्स को रिकवर करने का भी प्रयास किया। उस अवशेष से जितने भी लोगों को निकाला जा सका, उन सबको यथाशीघ्र वेलिंगटन के मिलिट्री हॉस्पिटल पहुंचाया गया। कुल 14 लोगों में से 13 लोगों की मृत्यु हो गई। ग्रुप कैप्टन वरुण सिंह वेलिंगटन के मिलिट्री हॉस्पिटल में लाइफ सपोर्ट पर हैं और उन्हें बचाने के हर संभव प्रयास किए जा रहे हैं।
While countless prayers continue to pour in for Group Captain Varun Singh, villagers in Uttar Pradesh's Deoria too gathered at his ancestral residence to pray for his speedy recovery.
जुलाई में शादी थी, सब लोग आए हुए थे। बहन के लड़की की शादी थी, उसमें सब लोग आए हुए थे।
इस बात की जानकारी कैसे मिली? और
व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप से मिली थी 2 बजे। व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप से 2 बजे मिली थी। एक वही बच्चा है, इसका मतलब है कि वो ठीक होगा। उसको बचने के लिए भगवान की कुछ कृपा है, सबकी दुआएं हैं, सबका आशीर्वाद है।
गांव ही नहीं, पूरा देश उसके लिए प्रार्थना कर रहा है। कल 3 बजे सूचना मिली थी और वहाँ से उसकी वाइफ को पहले सूचना मिली थी, उसने हम लोगों सबको घर को बताया। 2-3 दिन पहले भी बात हुई थी घर पे। अक्सर रोजाना हम लोग का फैमिली में रोज सबसे बात होती रहती है।
Group Captain Varun is a true survivor. He was awarded the nation's third highest gallantry award, the Shaurya Chakra, for his amazing grit, determination and valor. In October 2020, then Wing Commander Varun was test flying a Tejas light combat aircraft on a test sortie. With deft handling of the aircraft, despite the fighter plane pitching wildly, he brought it under control, choosing not to eject, but to land the aircraft putting his life at grave risk but saving a valuable national asset and lives on the ground. Group Captain Varun Singh, a fighter pilot, a role model for many, was posted to the Staff College to motivate future commanders. Group Captain Varun is a second-generation officer hailing from Uttar Pradesh. 1 billion prayers are now on for his speedy and complete recovery. Bureau Report, India Today. We're all praying incredibly hard for Group Captain Varun Singh, the sole survivor in the December 8th chopper crash. On the sidelines of this developing story, a letter that Group Captain Varun wrote a few months ago to students of the school that he studied in have emerged. Here are a few inspiring excerpts from that letter that he wrote to the principal of that school just after he was decorated with a Shaurya Chakra.
Group Captain Varun Singh, the only survivor of the horrific chopper crash. Every single one of us is hoping and praying for this hero's recovery. And as he fights another battle for survival, a glimpse into why we call him a hero. A glimpse into what makes him a true inspiration. This is a letter that Group Captain Varun Singh wrote just a few months ago, right after he was awarded the Shaurya Chakra on Independence Day. This is a letter he wrote to his school about motivation, hard work, and success. I want to share some thoughts about my life which I feel may help and inspire children who might feel that they are meant to be only mediocre in this hyper-competitive world. It is okay to be mediocre. Not everyone will excel at school and not everyone will be able to score in the 90s. You may be mediocre in school, but it is by no means a measure of things to come in life. Find your calling. Whatever you work towards, be dedicated. Do your best. Never go to bed thinking, I could have put in more effort. Never lose hope. Never think that you cannot be good at what you want to be. It will not come easy. It will take effort. It will require sacrifice of time and comfort. I was mediocre, and today I have reached difficult milestones in my career. Do not think that 12th board marks decide what you are capable of achieving in life. Believe in yourself. Work towards it. If I am able to inspire even one child to believe him or her in himself or herself, I would have achieved my objective of writing to you. With heartful humility and gratitude, yours sincerely, Varun Singh.
And as we've told you here on India Today in our coverage, we will cover the stories and the last rites of every one of the individuals who was on board that helicopter. Brigadier Lidder, who was consigned to the flames this morning, General and Mrs. Rawat this afternoon. And India is mourning all of the others as well who were in that chopper. Wing Commander Prithvi Singh Chauhan was the pilot of that ill-fated Mi-17 helicopter. He was the commanding officer of the 109 helicopter unit, which was carrying Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat, his wife and 11 other officers. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath paid tributes to Wing Commander Prithvi Singh Chauhan at his home in Agra earlier today. Those are the images that you're looking at right now. Yogi Adityanath met the family members of Wing Commander Chauhan and expressed his condolences. The UP Chief Minister vowed to provide financial assistance of 50 lakh rupees and a government job to a family member of Wing Commander Prithvi Singh Chauhan. Along with this, Yogi Adityanath said that an institution of the government would also be named after Wing Commander Prithvi Chauhan.
यहाँ पर पृथ्वी सिंह चौहान के माताजी पिताजी से मुलाकात की है, परिवार के अन्य सदस्यों से मुलाकात की है। राज्य सरकार शहीद परिवार के साथ में है। हम लोगों ने राज्य की ओर से जो व्यवस्था भी बनाई है, शहीद परिवार को राज्य सरकार की तरफ से आर्थिक सहायता के रूप में 50 लाख रुपए की सहायता हम लोग देते हैं। परिवार के एक सदस्य को हम नौकरी देंगे और किसी एक संस्था का नाम शहीद के नाम पर रखेंगे। पूज्य पिता और परिवार के सदस्यों को इस बात के लिए आश्वस्त करता हूं कि राज्य सरकार, हमारे यहाँ के स्थानीय जनप्रतिनिधिगण, हमारा यहाँ का प्रशासन पूरी तरह उनके साथ में है।
And rolling coverage continues as tributes pour in from